The world is held in a grip of absolute cold. Every breath crystallizes in the air, and the land is blanketed in a silence so profound it seems to swallow all sound. A vast white silence has fallen over the Norse lands, a silence so deep it feels like the end of time itself. The forests stand motionless, their branches heavy with snow, and the fields stretch endlessly, untouched by human hands or animal tracks. The sun, a pale and distant disk, hangs low in the sky, offering little warmth and even less light. Days are short, and the long nights are illuminated only by the faint glow of the aurora or the flicker of firelight from distant homes. The once rushing rivers and sprawling lakes are now frozen solid, their surfaces gleaming like polished steel under the weak winter sun. The water beneath is locked away, silent and unmoving, as if time itself has paused. The deep, dark fjords, which in summer teemed with the iconic Viking longships, are now choked with ice, their waters stilled and imprisoned. The mighty ships that once sailed these waters now rest on shore, waiting for the thaw. The sea, the great highway of the Viking age, is closed for business. Trade, travel and warfare seem to have been put on hold by the relentless advance of the ice. The horizon is empty, the harbours silent, and the world feels isolated, cut off from the rest of civilization. But the Norse people were not easily defeated by the elements. They saw winter not as an end, but as a transformation. For them, the cold was a challenge to be met with ingenuity and resilience, a season that demanded adaptation and rewarded those who could endure. The frozen rivers and lakes became broad, smooth highways, and the snow-covered forests turned into new routes. Where once there were obstacles, now there were opportunities, new ways to travel, to trade, and to connect distant communities. This is the story of how the Vikings harnessed winter, building a secret network of winter highways that kept their society connected and thriving, even when their longships were locked away. In the heart of the frozen north, the Norse found new strength, turning adversity into advantage and forging a legacy that endures to this day. When we picture the Vikings, we see longships and warriors, their sails billowing against stormy seas, axes gleaming in the northern sun. Their legend is inseparable from the ocean, and their lives seem forever tied to the sea. But the reality was far more complex. The sea was only one part of their world, and for much of the year it was out of reach. The image we know is the summer story, when ships could sail and the world felt open and green. But for up to 6 months, ice locked their ships in harbours and cut off maritime routes, transforming the landscape into a frozen barrier. The Vikings didn't hibernate. They adapted with remarkable ingenuity and resilience. Beneath the legend of the seafaring warrior lies the story of the overland traveller, men and women who braved the snow and ice to keep their world moving. When water turned to ice, the Vikings turned to land, forging new routes across the frozen wilderness. Communities needed to stay connected, goods had to move, and leaders had to rule, regardless of the season. Trade, diplomacy, and daily life continued, even in the harshest months. The winter demanded new skills and technologies, sleds for hauling, clever routes for travel, skis for swift movement, and strong horses bred to endure the cold. Frozen rivers became roads, snow-covered plains became open paths, and the landscape itself became a network of opportunity. This was the Vikings' unseen winter kingdom, a world of winter logistics and survival as vital as their longships and summer raids. Their mastery of the frozen landscape was a hidden pillar of their power, shaping their society and ensuring their legacy endures to this day. For centuries, the Vikings' winter world was invisible to history. Sagas mentioned journeys over ice and snow, but physical evidence was scarce, until remarkable archaeological finds changed everything. The Oseberg ship burial in Norway revealed not just a magnificent ship but ornate sleds, symbols of status and essential winter mobility. Everyday artifacts, sled runners, ski fragments, and iron crampons for horses have surfaced in places like Birka and Dublin. These discoveries show a society fully equipped for winter, from chieftains to farmers. Even horse skeletons reveal strong, stocky animals, bred for pulling sleds through snow. Together, these finds let us reconstruct the Vikings' winter fleet. Their mastery of overland travel was as crucial as their seafaring skills. The winter fleet was a cornerstone of Viking survival and success. Viking winter technology was simple, robust, and remarkably effective, allowing communities to thrive in some of the harshest climates on Earth. When the world turned white and rivers froze solid, the Norse adapted with ingenuity and resourcefulness. Two main sled types emerged: ceremonial sleds, which were lightweight, beautifully decorated, and served as status symbols for the elite, and cargo sleds, which were built for strength, durability, and the ability to carry heavy loads across long distances. Cargo sleds hauled timber, furs, barrels of ale, and freshly caught fish, keeping the Viking economy moving even when travel by boat was impossible. These sleds were the lifeline of winter trade and survival. Sleds were pulled by sturdy horses, powerful oxen, or even groups of people, ensuring that vital resources and goods could flow between villages and outposts all year round, regardless of the weather. Skis were another key invention, crafted from wood and essential for hunting, scouting, and fast travel over deep snow. They allowed Vikings to move swiftly and efficiently through the winter wilderness. Skiing was both a practical survival skill and a respected martial art, celebrated in the sagas and legends. Warriors trained on skis, and hunters relied on them to track game across frozen landscapes. The Vikings bred compact, strong horses with thick, insulating coats. Sure-footed and resilient, these animals were perfectly adapted to the icy terrain and biting cold of the north. Iron crampons, or brodder, were fitted to horses' hooves, giving them extra grip on slippery ice and packed snow, making winter journeys safer and more reliable. This ingenious combination of sleds, skis, and specially bred horses powered the Viking winter transport system, connecting people and places across the frozen north. It was a system born of necessity, shaped by the environment, and perfected by generations of Viking ingenuity and craftsmanship. With sleds and horses ready, the Vikings exploited the frozen landscape. Frozen lakes and rivers became primary highways, connecting coastal and inland communities. These ice roads were often more direct than summer sea routes. Communities maintained the roads, marking safe paths and clearing snow. Travel was planned around daylight, with groups moving from farmstead to farmstead, each acting as a roadside inn. This hospitality network kept communication and travel alive all winter. Goods like furs and timber moved efficiently over the ice, fueling the winter economy. The winter highways were used by everyone, from kings to farmers. They were the threads that held northern society together through the long, dark season. The frozen highways offered opportunity, but also danger. Weather was the greatest threat. Blizzards could strike suddenly, turning travel deadly. Navigation was difficult. The white landscape could disorient even the experienced. Vikings relied on the sun, stars, and intimate land knowledge, but in a whiteout, all clues vanished. The ice itself was perilous. Thin patches could swallow sleds and horses in an instant. Travelers learned to read the ice, a skill passed down through generations. Human threats also lurked. Outlaws targeted lonely sled trains, loaded with valuable furs. The sagas tell of both supernatural and real dangers haunting the winter paths. Every journey demanded resilience, vigilance, and ancestral wisdom. Survival on the winter highways was never guaranteed. The risks were high, but so were the rewards. Mastering winter gave the Vikings a strategic edge. While others waited for spring, the Norse moved resources, gathered men, and prepared for action. Winter mobility allowed surprise attacks and rapid movement, turning the frozen landscape into a battlefield. The winter highways enabled the lucrative trade in furs and northern goods, connecting the Arctic to the world. This season of hardship became a season of opportunity. The shared struggle against the cold fostered resilience, cooperation, and careful planning. These qualities shaped Viking society and made them formidable explorers and traders. The skills learned on frozen paths were the same that made them masters of the sea. As the Viking Age ended, the world changed. Warmer climates, new roads, and centralized kingdoms reduced dependence on winter highways. The skills of reading ice and navigating by subtle clues faded as official routes replaced ancestral knowledge. Economic focus shifted. Long-distance sled journeys became less central. Sleds and skis remained in rural life, but lost their strategic importance. The memory of the winter network faded into folklore and sagas. Archaeological finds remind us of this lost chapter. The Vikings' success was built on mastery of both sea and snow. Their ingenuity in winter survival remains a testament to their legacy. The Vikings' winter highways offer timeless lessons. They show that harsh environments can become sources of strength through adaptation and ingenuity. The Vikings didn't fight winter, they prepared for it, turning peril into opportunity. Their success relied on generations of knowledge, careful planning, and specialized technology. Community and cooperation were essential. No one survived winter alone. These lessons are vital today as we face new global challenges. Resilience is both individual and collective. The tracks of Viking sleds may be gone, but their spirit of innovation and cooperation endures. Their story teaches us how to survive and even prosper when the cold winds blow.